It's Wednesday, July 5th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we talk about Master Keaton. Let's do this.
Well, to make up for the fact that I had to go to work on Monday, they've given me Friday off, which I appreciate the gesture, but I really don't have any reason to take Friday off.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could go to Connecticut early, but I don't have a hotel room, and I'm sure they're sold out.
Yeah, probably sold out, and who knows what the hotels are like over there. It's not the greatest hotel area.
I mean, granted, I could just drive over and then drive back, but...
And then drive back again the next day?
I'll drive back with you the next day. It wouldn't be so bad.
I guess.
I've done that before. I considered going to UberCon on 2 separate days by driving.
Yeah, I think this next UberCon, we're just going to stay there the whole time.
Yeah, at
we
least
should
the
probably
second
reserve
one.
that.
Yeah, I'll take care of all that soon.
Okay.
And the very least, we'll stay the whole time at the second UberCon.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, we actually have some listener feedback. I've noticed we get the most feedback for the most offhanded comments we make.
I don't know what's up with that. Maybe we should only make offhanded stuff, and the main topics of shows pretty much no one cares about.
Yeah, like that one time when I said something like blah, 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 antiperspirant, and people were like, well, what's wrong with antiperspirant? In fact, that was on our question and answer show.
Yeah, it was.
But also, I'm very pleased with this email because for the longest time, we never got anyone ever writing in to disagree with us. And finally, someone has written into the show to disagree with us. I mean, a few people have done it before.
Well, my problem is it's not. I wanted a hate mail. Like, you guys suck, evil, blah. But we never got one.
We never get that.
This is an intelligent disagreement.
Yep, and I'll say right now, we're not going over this in detail because we're going to do a whole show on this in the future. So I'm going to greatly paraphrase the email.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from Kyle in Vermont. Just wanted to make a couple comments about your speeding ticket and jury discussion. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Scott stated that he is guilty until proven innocent with traffic tickets. This is simply not true. You can request a hearing, police officer, deposition, blah, blah, blah. To which I say, yeah, I disagreed with Scott on this too, and you should have heard the argument we had off the air about it.
You suck.
I mean, the cop has evidence to prove that you were guilty.
I didn't say that you are guilty and proven innocent. I said you're effectively guilty until proven innocent.
Well, no, because there was a blank slate, and then the cop presented numerous bits of evidence to show that you did something.
Yeah, the problem is, if that evidence is fake, you got nothing.
So you're saying that the evidence was fake?
No, but I'm saying if.
Yeah, you know what? If someone fakes evidence, you're pretty much screwed no matter what. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is that
what would you suggest?
See, the real problem I have here. Sure, technically you're innocent until proven guilty, but the way I see it, it should be more like they should have to work extra hard to put me in. I shouldn't have to work extra hard to get me out.
But Scott, he's got technology that shows you were speeding. He's got his own assessment of seeing you speed, and he's got his following you for a mile or two, watching you speed and going the same speed as you.
That's not enough.
Oh, that's plenty.
That's not enough.
That's plenty by any... I don't care how, solipsistic the world doesn't exist your philosophy is. That's enough evidence.
That's not enough evidence.
But yeah, as you can all tell, we disagreed about this point for quite a bit. And also, the fact remains that you were, in fact, speeding.
I wasn't going 81, that's for sure.
I don't know. You might be.
No, I don't think so.
And then the last bit I really want to get to is, lastly, your discussion of jury nullification was just plain scary. In almost every state, juries are instructed that they must not base their verdict on sympathy, prejudice, etc. A jury is only supposed to decide the facts, with exception of serious felonies where they have input in sentencing as well. Let me tell you what happens when jury nullification is used. White people get acquitted in the South. Rich people get off serious crimes because they could hire a good lawyer. A judge can dismiss a case if it is in the interest of justice. The difference is that a judge is accountable for their decision. A jury is not. We spent decades trying to overcome sexism, racism, etc. in our courts. Jury nullification was one of the biggest reasons these problems existed in the first place. If you are ever on a jury, just decide the facts because you clearly haven't thought this through. Love the show, Kyle in Vermont.
All right, well, on the second point, rich people get off because they can hire a good lawyer. That happens with or without jury nullification. So let's just wipe that one away right there.
Yeah, now in terms of the white people getting acquitted in the South, I'm very well aware of this issue. And in fact, I wrote a paper on it in school. And the long story short is that civil rights people and black people and basically undesirables were being murdered in the South. And then white juries refused to convict the people who did it. And I guess my first point is that as a libertarian with a lowercase L, any freedom or any right comes with associated risks. So, like, the freedom of speech is a wonderful thing, but it comes with the risk of hateful speech, annoying speech, dangerous speech, and you have to accept that risk to have the freedom. And free speech can be used for good and for evil. With jury nullification, I feel it's the same way. Jury nullification can be used to overturn unjust laws. It can also be used to do corrupt things.
Yes, sticking with the civil rights, let's go to the days of Martin Luther King when they would throw black people in jail for sitting in the front of a bus or sitting on the stool in a Walgreens. If someone jury nullified that and let them off the hook for doing something, for drinking at the wrong water fountain, then it would be great. And it's always better to see the guilty men go free than the innocents put in jail. So jury nullification really doesn't have people being found guilty so often for doing things that aren't bad. It's usually people, getting not guilties for doing bad things. So I say let the guilty guys go free. If it means as long, it's worth it to let those white people in the South not go to jail if we can also keep the black people from going to jail when they're breaking the evil laws.
Yeah, now I would submit that, one, the racism, sexism, etc. in our courts, that's a problem of society, and they're really, not letting people nullify laws is really, at best, a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Plus, it's still trivial for a jury to just vote not guilty anyway and just not say they're nullifying.
That is true.
And second, regardless of what anyone feels about the issue, the fact remains that it is perfectly legal to nullify laws. There is a wide body of common law precedent dating back to before America was even formed in British common law, and there's substantial American common law right up until the Constitution, everything was codified, whereupon numerous court decisions at all levels have affirmed the right to jury nullification. And in fact, the most recent decision, I think it was in 2000, I don't remember offhand, basically decided that, one, you can't tell jurors about nullification in a trial, but if they do nullify, you can't overturn their verdict. The best you can do is investigate and see if it was overturned by nullification. They can also compel jurors who think that another juror is nullifying to report it to the judge. But even in that case, there is almost no way, short of having a hung jury, to stop this. There's also evidence.
And a hung jury is as good as a not guilty.
There's also a lot of evidence from various activist groups showing that a large number of trials in the U.S. are ending in hung juries, and they believe that this is a result of the spreading of the idea of jury nullification.
Awesome.
In fact, there are a number of organizations that specifically advocate it in the cases of drug laws or anti-sodomy laws and things of that nature.
Yeah, think about that. If someone, there is a law, like when what states have these sodomy laws? Like if you're caught having some gay sex, you could go to jail, in some places. And if someone jury nullifies that and lets the gay people, keeps the gay people from going to prison, that's fantastic.
Now, there's a lot of emails. We argued back and forth all while I was at work, and I really can't go over all of it without devoting a whole show to it, which, again, I will. Mm-hmm. But as the argument went on, basically, it's true that this is all right, and it can be done from a legal perspective. And I agree with all of his arguments because they're very good. The arguments he makes from this point on are that by nullifying, you are circumventing the democracy that we have in place, and that if a law is unjust, it is our duty to vote against that law or vote against the people who passed it.
Yeah, that's all true.
Now, while I agree with this, and the fact that this is your argument, Kyle, I will note that the current laws allow me to nullify. So it is your duty as a citizen to vote against that and get the legislature to pass laws prohibiting me from doing so.
Yep. And the other thing I want to say about this particular argument is that, if the government worked the way it's written on paper and all the ideals of democracy in our country held true, that would be just fine. The problem is the democracy really isn't working. The gears aren't turning so well. In fact, they're turning backwards at this point. People in this country are in favor of net neutrality and against the broadcast flag. Yet,
yes,
which one passes committee? I don't know.
Regarding the net neutrality thing, it is not a disputed fact. There is no one in this country who is in favor of abolishing net neutrality,
except for telcos.
Except for not even just the telecos, only the people in charge of the telecos and the shareholders of the telecos. That is like less than 1% of the population of this country. And my final point is that I fully agree with you, Kyle, that in many ways this does in fact circumvent our democracy and the will of the people. And I submit that there is democracy and there is justice. And sometimes democracy and justice are right in line. Sometimes democracy and justice are at odds. As me personally, I will always side with justice, even if that means abridging democracy.
Mm-hmm. Because the fact is, democracy means in a country full of stupid people that stupid things get done. And justice means the right thing gets done, no matter what you think that is.
I would also argue that, in fact, jury nullification is the last bastion of democracy because jurors, at least currently, cannot be punished or reprimanded in any way for the decisions they make in a jury. Thus, no matter what, no matter how bad things get, you can always nullify. The people can always say, no matter how many bad laws are passed, we won't stand for this. And while that power could be used for bad, I think that in most cases it would not.
Especially nowadays.
I can't think of many people who would seriously try to nullify murder cases. Except maybe one of those he had it coming cases in Texas. But my main point is just that we really flippantly went over the issue, and I'd like to do a whole episode on it because jury nullification is an issue that I've put a great deal of thought into for many, many years, and I have a very complex opinion that I think warrants further discussion.
Maybe one day we'll be on juries.
You know what? In the current system, it is impossible for me to get on a jury without lying.
Yeah, probably me too. Depending on what they ask. If they ask really dumb questions, I can maybe...
No. Remember James Randi?
Yeah, but the judge knew who he was.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him on a jury because he was smart. That was the only justification.
Yeah, the judge basically said something like, "Oh, aren't you James Randi?" He's like, "Yes, I am." He's like, and he says to the lawyers, I'm trying to make this story's coming from memory, so it's not 100% accurate. But the judge said something to the effect of, that man there is likely to jury based on, only the evidence and not on your lawyerly doublespeak.
And the lawyers literally just immediately...
the lawyers made kind of grumblies and frowny faces and started to hem and haw a bit. And Randy was like, "Yup." And then the judge was like, "Oh."
Yep. The other problem I have with juries in general, I'll get off of this topic after this, is that currently there is no incentive other than doing your civic duty to be on a jury. And in fact, for many people, being on a jury hurts you because companies really don't accommodate you. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll give you time off, but they're not going to pay you. So a working mother who's called in for jury duty, she can't do it. If she does, she's screwed. But if she doesn't, she gets in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We won't talk about this further, but we will in the near future do a Thursday episode on it. So anyone who has an opinion on jury nullification, get in those forums now and start arguing. We will take choice excerpts from all of your arguments in our show.
Okay.
And Kyle, I've got your emails, and I'll go over all of your points in the show. And if we ever get Skype and everything working, maybe we'll try to get you on the show. Because I will say that the reason the argument was so interesting to me is that Kyle is, in fact, a prosecutor.
Yep, but I don't think anything he says counts as legal advice because then he gets in trouble.
Oh, no. And I just have to say, for Geeknights' perspective, that nothing we say should ever be construed as legal advice.
Yes.
We are not lawyers.
Not lawyers.
We are just opinionated assholes.
But if it comes to computers, then you can take our advice.
What, Penn Jillette, we're the nuts, and we take the nut position.
Well, actually, on computers, we have the professional position.
Well, yeah, we can be, you know what?
About anything else, nut position.
Anything we say about computers, you can take that as professional advice.
Yep. It's free of charge. Usually we charge a lot of money for that.
Yeah, my consulting rates vary depending on what mood I'm in.
And what you're asking for.
Yeah.
Hey, consult me on some embedded Linux stuff. Sure, I'll do that for $10 an hour. Hey, consult me on some Apache shit on Windows. Yeah, that's going to be $100 a minute. Yeah.
If someone tries to get me to work on a weekend, I don't think anyone in the world could afford that.
$1,000 a second.
Personal ball washer.
Personal ball wash. All right.
Anyway, we got some news.
Yep.
Now, we were just talking about juries and democracy, and part of that we were talking about net neutrality. Well, Google hasn't fired the big guns yet, but they've loaded the big guns and rolled out the battleship. Google is just waiting for the shit to hit the fan. They basically said today that if the ISPs decide that they're going to go this route, Google is going to wait. And the moment they do anything bad, Google is going to let fly with the lawyers and the antitrust suits.
Hooray.
Like before you can blink.
See, what people have to realize is that companies like telcos and record companies and movie companies and all these guys doing all the evil things, getting laws passed in Washington, all these companies are getting laws passed in Washington because A, they're very old companies who haven't upgraded to deal with the new world. B, because of that, they're not making a lot of money. They're not huge in the megabucks.
But they have a lot of experience.
And C, they have a lot of experience
Lobbying.
in lobbying. They know how to get laws passed. They don't know how to do business in the new world, but they know how to make laws.
They also have senators and representatives and lobbyists that they bought and paid for way back when they did make a lot of money, and those people haven't been bought again, so they're still in Congress.
Now, you got people on the other end like Google and Microsoft and Yahoo and who else?
All the big ones, Verizon.
Verizon's a telco. They're on the
but
they're on the bad side.
But Verizon hasn't said much about net neutrality.
Actually, they have. They don't want net neutrality.
Really?
Yes, they're fuckers.
I didn't catch that. I've been seeing most of the stuff I've been seeing has come from like Comcast.
See, the reason that those companies don't want net neutrality is this, right? They don't want to be just a provider of bits. If you're just a provider of bits, you're not going to make a lot of money. It's the same thing with cell phones. You don't make a lot of money just providing bits. You have to provide all these services on top of those bits, like your ringtones and your game downloads and all that jazz.
Now, you know what? It's the same way with electricity and water. The electric company here that we use, they make dick. They barely break even. They make enough money to pay all of their employees and get electricity and gas to us. And I hate to break it to the telecos, but data is now a commodity like that. Data is just a resource. It is nothing special anymore.
And you're gonna have to make dick. That's what it's what you're providing.
Yeah, it's a utility.
The thing is, people like Verizon want to make a lot of money by providing services on top of their bits. They want you to use Verizon's version of YouTube, Verizon's search engine, Verizon's this, Verizon's that. They don't have all those things, but they have a lot of online services, and they want you to use their services instead of other services like Skype or anything like that, which is why net neutrality is something they don't want, because if there was net neutrality, you can use other services just as easily as you could use Verizon services if you're a Verizon customer. But if without net neutrality, they can make it so that Verizon services work faster and better if you're a Verizon customer than Skype or YouTube. Or they can make it so you can't use Skype at all and you can only use Verizon's equivalent.
Some IPs have already begun doing this with Skype.
In Canada, it's big. The Canadian ISPs are big on blocking stuff and making you use their stuff.
Yep.
It's going back to the days of AOL where you were walled off from the real internet and you were forced to just use AOL's shit.
Yeah, which was actually great because it kept all those people away from me and Usenet.
Yeah. I think what might end up happening is there'll be some real ISPs and then fake ISPs, and people like us might pay for the real ISPs, the premium monies.
Well, all right, here's rumor mill time. Even though this has been kind of a not really, no one really knows exactly what's going on.
Google with the dark fiber?
Yeah, Google bought up as all the dark fiber they could get their hands on.
They've been buying it for a long time.
And they've got this massive, supposedly still unused network of fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also acquired many IPv6 addresses and all sorts of things. It's not out of the realm that Google would just make an ISP and give the giant finger to everyone.
Yeah, Google might just turn on the Google net, which is IPv6, and make it fast.
You mean Skynet.
Exactly. Exactly.
The other thing that Google didn't say this. This is me speculating, but I think the antitrust suits are only the first salvo. I think if like Comcast or Verizon said, Google, pay us more or we won't allow people to go to Google, Google would say, you know what? Let's see how your customers feel if they can't get to Google anymore. Have fun. Say ya.
No, see, what I think is, I go back to my original point, is that while all these companies like telcos, record, and movie companies are doing all these evil laws and not making a lot of money but are good at lobbying, the tech companies like Google and Microsoft and all them are not good at lobbying, but they are good at lawyers. And they have much, much more money.
I've got a 17 in lawyer.
Exactly. They're loaded. Google and Microsoft combined could buy Verizon and Bell South with lots of money left over. Hell,
and then
Google is bigger than Verizon by a lot. Billions upon
billions of dollars. It's the same thing with all the DRM stuff. I mean, Microsoft could just destroy the entire recording industry if they wanted.
Yep.
They could just buy it and give away all the music.
But they don't.
Yeah, not yet.
But they could. So these companies, if Google doesn't want something to happen, and we don't have to really worry about it. So as long as Google doesn't turn evil, and they haven't yet, except for the China stuff.
And even then, Google's been the least evil of everyone.
Yep.
I mean, I really have lost a lot of what little respect I had left for Yahoo after what's been going on.
Yeah.
Yahoo was awesome in 1994.
But as long as...
That was 12 years ago. Oh, my God. I feel so old.
As long as
oh my God.
Google is still there with its mad monies.
12 years. That's
net
half my life.
neutrality isn't a worry because Google will just blow it away. So, hooray. All right. So, Nintendo, who doesn't have as much money as Google.
But they have a lot of freaking money.
Yeah, they do. It's President Bush's 60th birthday today.
We're going to leave the politics out of it. I think you all know our feelings on our wonderful leader.
Nintendo sent him a birthday present, which is a DS Lite and brain training. Now, on the one hand, you say, oh, that's good. Now he'll understand about video games if he actually plays it or actually looks at the gift or anything like that. But on the other hand, aren't they kind of insulting him? Like, here, you kind of need some brain training.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people on the internet made a bunch of jokes about it. And like, yeah, they should have sent him this back in 91. He needed this a while ago, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, we've had an idea for a long time, not for a long time, for at least months that we've been ruminating about. And we'll probably
a couple weeks?
Yeah, we've had it for a while.
Nah, that long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
The idea is that what if we put together a fund to raise the money to buy a DS and 2 games for every member of the Senate?
Yep, that's 100 DS Lites, which is what, $13,000 something dollars?
The point is just that, do you think that would work? I mean, people did that with the iPod.
Yep.
Back in the day, and it seemed to have a fairly big impact on what senators thought about music online.
So if we send them all DS Lites with, Brain Age and, I don't know, what's another good one?
Nintendogs would probably be good for that kind of purpose.
Yeah, Nintendogs. Will they change what they think about video games and stop trying to do evil video game laws? Maybe.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that on a gaming day because it's not gaming day, it's anime day. But
maybe we should send one to Jack Thompson.
He'd probably just kill us.
Maybe.
All right, we went on for a long time there, but it is anime day, and we will be talking about anime after we talk about things that possibly exploded.
Mm-hmm.
My thing of the day is something exploding.
Great.
It's one more final firework thing of the day, and then I'll be done. I've got it out of my system. But this is a fireworks factory that had an accident and exploded. There's a dude on a roof filming it, and it includes the choice moment where he realizes this might be dangerous and starts running away while he's filming it. And then there's a big explosion that kind of like knocks him down a little bit. And then he's laying there, obviously cowering, as debris and shrapnel and explosions fly everywhere.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen this yesterday. I think I dug it a while ago. I just didn't remember it till now. But wow, this is, if you thought the bottle rockets or the firecrackers were big, this is a whole fireworks factory.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is insane.
Now, the guy doesn't get hurt, so don't worry about anything like that. Just enjoy the
No, he's
booms.
lying there dead with the camera rolling. Some guy picked up the film and popped it on the net.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
All right, what you got?
So, there's this video going around, and it's not really a typical thing of the day. It's this guy, and he's sort of we call him Belly Man. That's been his nickname on the net, is Belly Man, because he has a large belly.
A beer gut, if you will.
A little bigger than that.
If I may.
It juts
a
out,
Zader gut.
It juts out quite much, so that, his shirt is like hanging over the end of it and not returning to his waist. Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't belly buster those kids.
I'm surprised. Well, he tried to. Anyway, he's standing around with like his 2 little daughters, and he looks kind of like, one of those dads carrying dad shit, like a fanny pack and all, It looks like one of those little Family Dad guys. And there's 3 like young teenage kids skateboarding, happily skateboarding.
Like, seriously, they're not doing anything wrong.
They're just minding their own business, skateboarding, right? And sure, it might be an area in which skateboarding is not allowed, but that's not the point.
And there don't seem to be signs or anything.
Yeah, there are no signs that I can see. And one of the skateboarding kids obviously has a video camera. Now, the video starts out where this guy comes over to the kids and he's like, I'm going to go get the manager and tell him to make you leave. And they're like skateboarding kids are like, all right, if we're not supposed to be skateboarding here, then you go do that. And the guy will come to tell us to leave and we'll leave. And until then, we'll just stay here and skateboard while we wait for you. Now, the guy gets all pissed off and all in the face of this little kid who's like, must be 13 or something.
Yeah, maybe. These kids are young.
These kids are 13, 14, maybe 15, but I'm thinking 13, 14.
And this is a big adult.
This is like a 40-year-old dad with his 2 little 6 to 8-year-old daughters standing there.
Now, the presence of these 6 to 8-year-old daughters does not prevent him from saying the word fuck a whole bunch of times.
Yeah. He's just like, you have trouble listening. Like, this guy's not these kids' parents, and he's talking to them like he's some sort of, like he must. I don't know.
Like he was acting like he's an authority figure that they have to listen to. When honestly, he's just a dude. He's not affiliated with this plaza they're skateboarding on.
He's not he might live there, but he's not a police officer. He's not their teacher in school, which really would be the same thing. But he's nothing to these kids. He's a complete stranger. If kids listen to their parents, you don't talk to strangers, let alone do what they tell you to do.
And the kids play it real cool. They're just like, all right, man, whatever, just leave us alone.
Yeah,
and then he attacks them.
Well, no, he goes away, and then you see this kid skateboarding a little bit. But obviously this guy, after walking away, noticed that the kids are still skateboarding. So he runs up and grabs one of the kids' skateboards and starts running away. The kid runs over, tries to grab it, and basically this guy fights with this little kid. A 40-year-old man is like beating on a little 12-year-old, trying to steal his skateboard.
Now, this is what's wrong with American society.
This is like a little 1.5-minute video that shows everything that is wrong with the world today.
Well, almost everything.
Everything's wrong with our society today. I mean, you've got people who can't mind their own business. They're bothered by what other people are doing that has nothing to do with them.
I mean, the guy keeps making he's yelling like it's dangerous. My daughters are here, but they were nowhere near this guy. They were skateboarding in like the other side of this park.
Yep, it shows parents setting bad examples for their children and blaming other things like skateboarding kids and video games and such for the ails of their children, when in fact the ails of their children are by shitty parents who beat up kids in front of their little daughters.
Yeah, seriously, beating up a kid in front of your own kids is I don't know what to say. If I had been there and I had seen this, I would have attacked the guy and called 911.
Yeah, see, like, I'm not a violent dude, and these kids are way cooler than us because they handled it so well. Like the kid says, you can hear him in the video, like, what are you, nuts? You're attacking a little kid. He's just a kid, man. What's wrong with you? And that's exactly right. What is wrong with him?
Of course, that just makes the guy madder.
Yeah, but he's real, he's got a lot of gall to attack little kids. If those guys were 20-year-old skateboarders, he wouldn't have done shit. He would have been all scared and not gone anywhere near the thing.
Now, to paraphrase Jerry Seinfeld in one of his bits a long time ago, what is wrong? What is going on in your life that would make you do something like that?
Yeah, this guy's real lucky there was no one like us nearby, because he would have had the shit kicked out of him in front of his daughters, and then they would have learned a lesson.
And also, I don't know, I'm going to try to follow up on this because I sincerely hope that charges are pressed against this guy.
Oh, seriously?
I mean, this video is all over the internet. These kids aren't stupid. I'm going to try to track him down and see if I can get him on the show.
I mean, people get in trouble for impairing the morals of kids and stuff.
Yeah,
he should be in trouble for impairing the morals of his daughters.
Yeah, the exact phrase is contributing to the delinquence of a minor.
Yeah, and I mean, if it was really against some sort of rule, or the kids are trespassing or something and not allowed to skateboard there, or if somehow their skateboards were damaging something and it could be vandalism of some sort, why didn't he just go and get the police or the landlord or the superintendent or the security guard or whoever and let them handle it? No, he's on some crazy. He's got some psychological problem. He's got to go and be some sort of, vigilante big man guy, which is wrong.
I mean, I could see if it was his property and they were scuffing it up.
Yeah, if it was your house, then it's okay. If some kid is on your lawn doing stuff that is
Get
damaging.
off my lawn, you damn kids.
Yeah, as much as get off my lawn, you damn kids is, cliche. There's nothing wrong with that. It's your lawn, that's what you can do. This is some sort, it doesn't look like a public place, but it's definitely some sort of apartment building is nearby.
You know what? It's the kind of place I used to hang out and rollerblade when I was a punk kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Old men never tried to beat me up.
That's right.
Yeah, once I was chased by the police, but I was doing something else at the time.
At least it shows that the kids, are usually the more sane than the adults, and we really, need to stop persecuting kids so much and let them have the say because they're smarter than most of us.
Now, again, this does not apply to all kids.
No, it doesn't.
By we're not saying that all kids.
The problem is that in general, our society tends to give adults rights and, value adults' opinions, and kids have much fewer rights and are sort of oppressed by adults. And I think that's wrong.
I mean, there are certain situations where that's perfectly justified because kids are young and they don't know things. I mean, there are things that I did when I was young that were stupid.
There sure were.
And if I saw myself doing them now, I'd say,
What the fuck are you doing? Stop right now. Oh, my God. Oh.
Stop that. You're about to break your face.
Exactly.
But you know what? I mean, some kids need to do some things like that to be able to test the boundaries and learn what works and what doesn't. Like, I jumped off the roof of my house once when I was a little kid.
Oh, we used to jump off of, second-story porches to the ground.
And I didn't hurt myself severely, but it hurt a lot. And I learned, all right, I can't jump that far without hurting myself. And I never did it again.
Yep. So, yeah. There are a lot more things this video illustrates, but I don't want to go on and on forever because that's not what this episode is about. But, yeah.
So, if you're an old, scary anime guy and you're at a con and you see kids goofing off, just let the kids goof off.
Yeah, or else, think about it. If you're the kind of guy walking around and you see some people doing something in an anime con that you don't like, and you really feel like hitting them, it would feel good and you think they deserve it, watch this video. You're the old guy. Don't be that guy, because then guys like me seeing you do that will kill you.
Yep.
Or bring you severe bodily harm.
Yeah, in fact, I remember a moment at Animazement where someone complained, there were some kids being loud near the artist alley. They were yelling and doing something fun. And some artist in the room says, sir, because I was security, those kids are loud and annoying. Stop them. And I walk over and the kids are just having fun. And no one complained but this one person. So I walk back and I was like, they can do what they want.
There you go.
And you know what? She didn't run over and try to hit him.
Yeah, and if she did, you would have been all security on her.
Yep. Now, the thing is, the kids were annoying me, too. And after another hour of this, I was thinking of shutting them down. But then the head of the con himself was like, let them be kids. They'll tire themselves out and they won't bother us tomorrow.
Huh? All right.
Yeah.
I mean, if kids are making noise, it's like, all right. But if they're if their physical doings are troublesome, and skateboarding is not troublesome unless you're a crotchety old guy.
Yeah, or unless, there are skateboard punks who do bad things. They break property, they get in the way, they skateboard places they really shouldn't, they do things dangerously, but these kids were not doing any of those things.
Yeah. Oh, another thing this illustrates, that the last thing I want to point out about it is, some people who can't have fun, who have miserable lives, just can't stand to see other people having fun, and it pisses them off. This guy, I don't imagine his life is too good. He has to deal with 2 daughters, he's dealing with all his dad's shit. He probably has a shit job. He's living in some apartment complex.
No, to his credit, maybe, when he was young, a roving band of 12-year-old skateboarders killed his parents.
Maybe.
And now he's on it. Now that was his anime moment.
But if that was true, then why is he beating up 12-year-old kids? He should have become the Batman and beat up, 40-year-old villains.
Maybe those 12-year-old kids are actually ninjas.
If those 12-year-old kids are ninjas, that explains their high level of intelligence and their worthiness of our respect.
It also means that man is already dead.
Yep, which means we're never going to hear from him again.
Yeah, but I'm really going to try and follow up with this. And if for somehow no one has followed up, if this guy hasn't been caught in any way, I'm going to see if I can somehow get this video into the hands of people who would care.
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea where this was, when it was, anything. We got nothing, so...
Yeah, but I've got a lot of means at my disposal.
Yeah, we'll try.
Like Google and yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some 4chan action. Anyway, it's Anime Day. We're going to talk about Master Keaton, which is probably one of the most underrated anime to come out in the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd barely heard of it. No one I know had watched it except the guys in Anime World Order. We finally decided to pick it up, mainly because we got it for $40, all of it. And it's badass. But before we talk about it, I just want to give a quick nod to the fact that, and I only do this because I know people don't listen to all the days, but Scott and I appeared on Geek Speak talking about anime conventions not too long ago.
Yeah, so if you're interested in hearing us talk even more about anime conventions, if our 3 episodes about anime conventions,
Yeah, not counting the coverage of each con we've gone to.
yeah, is not enough for you, you can go to speakgeekspeak.com and get another episode of us talking about anime cons.
Though there are some interesting questions there because he kind of interviews us and he asks us a lot of questions about things that we probably wouldn't have thought to say anything about otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's real useful because, you know, the thing about this show is that we have lots of knowledge. Lots of knowledges. We're not omniscient, but...
Well, you're not.
You're not either. But we do know a fuck ton of stuff. And just talking to each other, since we've said most things, and since we both know that we both know things, we don't really say those things because it's sort of like understood. So having someone interview us is really the only easy way, or one of the only easy ways, for a lot of the information within our bodies to be communicated to the world. Hence the episode Ask Us Any Question.
Yep, which went really well and probably going to have more of those in the future.
Yep, as soon as we get a lot more listeners so that we can get a lot more new questions of different varieties.
Yep, even though the graph of listenership is still somewhat exponential.
Yep, which is all good.
Yep, just wait till Otakon. I think that's going to be a big breaking point. Not just for us, but for a lot of podcasters.
Yeah, I mean, Anime Next had a crap ton of podcasting going on relative to the size of the convention. I can only imagine how Otakon's going to be.
I mean, Otakon has really had no podcasting presence before, at least no noticeable one.
Because podcasting really took off, you know, in the years since Otakon, you know.
Yep, and happily, we're going to be the ones to break podcasting out there with our giant panel.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about that more and more as Otakon comes up. Today, Master Keaton.
All right.
Now, we've only watched the first 3 episodes.
And they were all completely different. It's an episodic show so far.
Yep. But, I mean, the first 3 episodes very much seem to serve to enlighten us as to who is Master Keaton? Why is he a master? Why is his name Keaton?
What is the show about?
And I've heard the show described to me in a bunch of various ways that didn't make much sense. So I basically had to watch the show.
Yeah,
to figure
people
out.
would say, "Oh, it's an archaeology something terrorist something show." And
Yeah,
I'm like, "What?"
one guy said it was Indiana Jones versus the terrorists.
And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's insurance agent. What the hell?"
Yeah, and it is very much all of those things and more.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's seen Master Keaton. It's in every anime store. You see stuff from Master Keaton everywhere.
There's not really stuff for it, but the
Well, like,
DVDs
the
are
DVDs.
widely available.
And I've seen wall scrolls. It's a dude, a normal looking dude. He's very.
He's not even that. The art is actually not spectacular.
I like it though. I like the
It
style.
looks kind of like the second Lupin series with a bit of extra shininess.
The guy is very much a guy, and I guess
With a big nose.
you know what? We'll spoil the first episode because that's a great way by going through the episode to kind of explain what the show is about.
Yeah, also, since it's episodic, there's no major plot spoiler by explaining the first episode.
Yeah.
It's like if I told you the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, I might spoil that episode because it sort of has a slightly twisty ending, you know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really spoil the show Cowboy Bebop. So, see, first episode of Master Keaton.
It starts with this guy, this normal looking guy, and it's kind of like the Indiana Jones where he's a teacher at a high school.
Yep, and he's teaching about archaeology of Greece, ancient Greece.
Now, of course, just before this, they show some guy falling to his death over a cliff. And now you've got this guy teaching archaeology, and he seems like a cool but very kind of nonchalant, silly dude.
Yeah, like he's completely nondescript. Like usually you see a character and you know what kind of character they are. Like the badass looks like a badass and the hot girl looks like a hot girl. And this guy looks like generic dude.
I would call him a proto-Kaji or a proto-Hughes. He's kind of that kind of character, but much more subdued.
And much more clean-shaven.
Yes.
And a bigger nose.
But, I mean, and right away, they're dropping all these hints. Like, he comes in, and the headmaster of the school yells at him, like, your page slip came back. You must have moved again. He's like, oh, whatever. And he looks at it, and he kind of groans at the meager pay.
And then he also, as he leaves class, he's like, oh, yeah, no class next week either.
And his students are like, he always does this. They're going to fire him someday.
Yeah, they're like, why do you keep canceling class? We want it. We're paying a lot of money for this, and you keep canceling. Screw you.
But then it turns out he got a phone call from Lloyd's.
Lloyd's of London, the giant insurance place.
And the show even goes to a somewhat decent pain to explain what Lloyd's of London is.
Because a lot of people don't exactly understand the difference between Lloyd's of London and your local insurance agent.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it.
No, we're not. Lloyd's of London is basically the king of insurance. That's all you need to know.
Just think big insurance company. Like
there isn't really a bigger insurance company. They insure everything fancy.
If Trigun were a real world, they're the ones who would have sent Millie and Meryl out to handle all that business with Vosh.
Exactly.
So he's called by them to go do something. So he takes time off work and goes off to investigate this thing, which involves some sort of insurance scandal.
Yep. Now, the insurance scandal that happens is the guy who was pushed off the cliff at the beginning of the show had life insurance. The life insurance is going to not his longtime woman, but to the Ox Art Company.
Yep, Ox Bayer.
And the guy who owns the Ox Art Company is Ox Bayer.
He is a shady-looking dude.
He is a very looking shady evil dude, and they make that pretty clear right away.
Yep, so, and she lives on, like, this peninsula.
Well, his woman lives on this peninsula of Greece somewhere.
And that's where he died. It's an ancient village, and now the funny thing is, he makes a point, like, they mention multiple times that it's a windy island.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. In fact, one thing I've noticed about the show is that anything and everything that happens is important.
It's sort of like Scooby-Doo, but not visually. I always say Scooby-Doo a lot. I don't know if everyone understands this, but if you watch an old episode of Scooby-Doo and you look at the image, in those days, the coloring on the cells of animation would be really bright and stand out from the background. So you could tell if something was going to be animated because it would have to be on the cell. And you could tell if something wasn't going to be animated because it would be in the background. And the one example I always remember is that Scooby and Shaggy were standing next to this well with a bucket. Those wells they always have in cartoons.
Yep, that don't exist anywhere really anymore.
Exactly, those. And they were standing next to it, and the well was this brighter color. It stood out from the background. It was on the cell, which means you knew they were going to fall into the well or that a ghost was going to come out of it. It's just obvious because it stands out.
Like they're walking down a hallway, and there's a bunch of lockers. They're in a school, and one of the lockers is all bright. That locker's going to pop open, or they're going to open it.
Exactly. So when something is Scooby-Doo, that means it stands out from everything else and is obviously important.
Now, the things
without it being said, this is an important thing.
Now, the things don't seem obviously important. Like way back when the payslip thing, and they're like, give us your new address. And he's writing it down, and he rips the piece of paper. And the guy hands him some tape to tape up the paper, and he just kind of pockets it and walks away.
And the guy's like, hey, Keaton stole my tape. That's a Scooby-Doo thing. It stands out, and it becomes important later.
So he gets to the island, and sure enough, right away, he sees these insurance guys, and they're very thuggish, threatening the woman.
Well, they're not insurance guys. They're the Ox Bayer
Art Company. Ox Bayer Art Company, and they're threatening this woman about something.
And at first, the first time I watched it, because I've seen the episode twice, I thought that the woman might also be in on some sort of scam. I didn't know who was the bad guy, the Ox Art Company or the woman, or both, or neither.
Now, this is the point at which this is when the show really took a turn and we started figuring out what was going on, because this situation's going on, and Keaton drops some garbage like over the edge just as they're about to like shoot this woman. And then he leans over like, "Oi, I dropped that. Sorry. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm just some dumb guy."
And then he comes down to pick it up, and the Ox Art guys walk away. Like,
they're not going to shoot in front of this person. They don't know what's going on. They're just going to wait for another time.
Yeah, I mean, this village is empty because it's one of those seasonal places where people only come in a certain time of the year. And this time of the year, the only people there are the woman the guy who fell off the cliff, and these Ox Art guys, and Master Keaton who came to investigate.
Now, at this point, I wasn't sure of something, because for anyone who's seen Trigun, for much of the early part of the show, you're wondering if Vosh is actually awesome or just an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And Master Keaton had that same feeling. We had a debate while we were watching the episode of, all right, is he an idiot or is he badass? And if he's badass, how badass is he?
That was really I knew he was badass because he's the main character in the show, and you know that he's going to come out on top at the end of this episode.
But he might have been like a Captain Tyler badass.
Exactly. Well, I don't think he was a Captain Tyler badass because he wasn't goofy.
No, but he might have been.
Well, my question was, how badass is he? I mean, he maybe can. Does he get out of situations with clever stuff that doesn't involve violence? Can he take out a gun and kill everyone when he needs to? What's his level and type of badassness?
Because they haven't told you really anything about him yet.
Yeah, you don't have his background. You know nothing except that his name is Master Keaton. He teaches archaeology, and Lloyd's of London hired him to do something.
Now I'm going to say right now what level of badass he is. He is the badass wherein if he goes to a gunfight and everyone else has guns, he doesn't need a gun.
Yeah, in a world where no one has superpowers, Master Keaton is the most dangerous, most badass motherfucker on the earth if there are no weapons also, I guess.
Yet, even though he's the most, normal-looking, kind of guy.
And usually, his demeanor really doesn't match his badassness level at all. He's all smiley and friendly and cool. He's not torn by war or anything like that. He's just a happy, friendly, teachery guy.
And in fact, one thing you notice is that
gritty.
As you watch more of the show, it's obvious that every single thing he says and does is 100% calculated.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he just makes an offhand...
At least when he's on a mission.
Yeah, if he just makes an offhand comment, he did that for a reason.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is that the moments where the badass comes out, like the moment when action happens and there's a sudden fight, the action is over almost immediately. They're very
take
short
that,
segments.
Naruto.
Yeah.
Friggin' 10 episodes of a fight. Master Keaton uses 10 seconds and he takes everyone out.
2, the smile goes away and he just has this the coldest I am a badass looked about his face.
And a lot of times you don't even see the action involving Master Keaton himself. You just they kind of show you enough so that you know what he did, and they show you the results of what he did, but they never actually show you in full animation him doing everything badass. Now, I think I saw him kick a guy once.
Well, in this first episode he does a bit, but he goes back, talks to the woman, they basically resolve the plot. The evil Ox Bayer guys realize that, all right, he's here to talk to this woman. Let's just go kill them both. There are no witnesses.
Yep.
Now, Master Keaton is talking to the woman, and suddenly he's like, and he looks out the window and he sees these guys coming. And at this point, the full badass comes out, and you really start wondering, how is he this badass? They explain that as well, but I'll get to that.
Yeah, he reaches over, he's in a little tiny cottage, and he goes to get a wooden spoon.
He grabs a wooden spoon. Also, he asks the girl if there's a back way out. She says yes, and he says, wait a minute, and he's fiddling with things. And all the while, he's explaining, they've got guns. And he explains why he knows they've got guns, because they're wearing sport coats, but the sport coats are buttoned, and they're holding their right arms away from their body, which means they've got a left-mounted weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty realistic stuff. I could see detectives using similar deductive methods.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and... then they run off, and the guys see him, and they shoot at him. And he's running away, and you're wondering, all right, how is he going to resolve this? He's got a spoon. He's also got some tape, if you remember.
And also earlier in the episode, there was another Scooby-Doo moment where he says, oh, this keystone is loose.
Yeah, there's an arch, and the keystone is loose. And also, the island is very windy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does all this come together? Well, he
runs away a lot with the girl.
And he gets to the area he wants to be, and he gets to a point where they see him and start running after him, shooting. He ducks around the corner, takes a stick, jams it into the unstable earthworks, and knocks over this giant wall, taking 2 of the guys out.
Yeah, the rocks fall on their head and they're gone.
Then the rest of the guys come around the corner, guns drawn, and he has made basically a sling kind of device out of this spoon and the tape.
And a stick.
Yeah, and he whips these rocks at the guys and takes them all out except the head guy.
He throws 2 rocks, obviously rocks from the crumbled wall, and he hits 2 of the guys in the head, square in the front of the head with flying rocks.
Like, they're down.
Yeah, only Ox Bayer is left.
And they're standing there confronting each other. And now I'll note that when Oxbayer first saw Master Keaton, he thought, that guy looks kind of familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when Master Keaton was first given the picture of Oxbayer, he thought, I know this dude.
Yep.
But he didn't say how he knew him. He just he made it obvious. That
he saw the picture and he said, Ox Bayer.
Yeah.
I know him.
But he didn't say, like, how or why. He's just like, I know this dude.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Oxbayer's got a gun, and Master Keaton's standing there with his sling. And Oxbayer just reaches for the gun, aims up, and fires. And it cuts to Master Keaton, and he's just standing there. He doesn't even flinch, and the bullet misses him. It barely misses him. And then he flings the rock and takes the Oxbayer guy out.
Yep.
Then he walks over with a badass look on his face. He's standing over him, and he says, like, the whole guy's whole name, like, blah, 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 Oxbayer. And then you have this flashback of...
Ox Bayer is like, huh?
Yeah.
I know you now.
You're the master.
The master.
It cuts to SAS survival training. That is the German equivalent of the SWAT team times a million.
I thought the SAS was the...
Or no, not German, not
the
German.
the British Special Air Service.
All the Counter-Strike names.
Yeah.
The SAS are badasses.
They're badasses.
And it cuts to this flashback of Oxbayer going through survival training, and he's copping out.
It's the typical walking through the mud with a very heavy backpack.
And he's failing. Like, he's falling over.
Yeah, like Oxbayer is walking in the dark in the mud, heavy backpack, and he falls over tired. And then you see Master Keaton standing there with the same heavy backpack, completely unfazed and untired, going like, get up, we'll see.
Yeah, and it's apparent that Master Keaton is in fact the instructor.
And he wasn't in training with Oxbayer. He was training Oxbayer.
And then he says very clearly, like, if you'd remembered your lessons, firearms are not as useful as an improvised sling weapon in windy climates.
Yeah,
windy
heavy
places.
rock won't get blown around by the wind, but a bullet will.
And then Oxbayer's like, oh, son of a bitch.
You're the master.
And that's pretty much the first episode. And actually, we really explained all the stuff we needed to explain without actually ruining the plot.
Yeah, because the second and third episodes, which are the only ones we've watched, have the same formula. There's a situation involving insurance somehow. They send Master Keaton to take care of it. He's the master. The end. But it's awesome because of you see how he does it each time.
Yep, and it's very realistic in most cases.
And it's also very varied. It's not always a similar case, where like, oh, some guys are troubling a woman. It's all sorts of different cases involving different insurances on things. And it can get pretty crazy.
And also, for the first 3 episodes at least, they keep dropping little hints into like Master Keaton's life, and bit by bit we learn more and more about him.
And how masterful he is.
Yep. Like there's a point where one guy in the second episode we watched, right? Yeah, the second one, where Master Keaton's doing all this badass stuff, so the guy's like, do a background check on this guy. Then at the end of near the end of the episode, they're reading the background check, and they're like, whoa, this guy's a badass.
Yeah, because in that episode, they kept talking about who was the professional and who was the amateur, and they were like, at the end, they were finally like, we were the amateur. He was the professional.
Yep, but don't think that this show is cliched at all. This show is really kind of unique in that it's episodic, and I would liken it a little bit to Lupin, both in the style and just in how much...
It's like Lupin without goofiness if Lupin was on the side of good.
Like, take Golgo 13, which is just badass dude killing people.
And take out, like, the hardcore sex and the incredible violence.
Yep, then take Lupin and take out the silliness and mash them together and add Indiana Jones and terrorists.
Yeah.
That's what Master Keaton is.
It's like if Indiana Jones is just a friendly guy and not a greedy dude.
Also, aside from the actual show itself, which, one, I love, but the animation is pretty good, especially for when it was made.
Yeah, I think it's not the greatest, but it fits what's going on.
It's definitely passable.
It's typical.
I really like the music, except for the closing song. The closing song is just kind of like popish crap, but the rest of the music is just very good and atmospheric.
I just don't really notice the music, going on so much. Like there's some animes that have like a soundtrack that stands out like a sore thumb.
Like Noir.
Or like Hacksign.
Yeah.
But this show is just one of those.
In fact, I would submit that Hacksign wasn't worth watching, except for the fact, like, it was a mediocre show. The music alone pushed it above the mediocre line.
That's true.
In my opinion.
It's true. But no, in Master Keaton, the music is sort of instrumental, atmospheric background music. It doesn't stand out. I don't really notice it. In fact, I couldn't think of any of the songs in my head or sing any of them in my head right now.
See, I can remember well, just that it doesn't stand out, but it's really good, and I like it. It's the kind of music that I like.
I just don't even notice it. It's so. I don't know.
And also, the opener has a good song. And the opener itself it's not like revolutionary or anything, but it is atypical of a lot of the shows from that era. It's not just the fast cuts to action J-pop song. It's very much a good song and just kind of this not really epic, but very atmospheric, almost moving thing that ends with a very poetic scene.
It's just an opener. It's not really a special. I wouldn't put it on the list of best openers or the list of worst openers. It's just, it seems standard to me.
I liked it. I would put it a little bit above the pack. Because remember, in that era, most shows, of course, even today, well, now it's J-rock instead of J-pop. But most shows back then were like generic J-pop. Often it was Megumi Hayashibara and just like a bunch of cuts from the show.
I don't know what era you think Master Keaton is from.
Very broadly, I'm thinking 90s.
Let's go actually find out what it was from.
Yeah, what year was Master Keaton actually made?
Almost there.
All right, I'm not going to edit this out, so I'll just keep talking. We found Master Keaton mostly because Anime World Order yelled at us to watch it.
98 and 99.
Wow, it's a lot later than I expected.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a much earlier show, but actually it's a very recent show. So
wow,
it's actually kind of weird because then that means that, it was using sort of an older anime style in a later time.
Yeah, because I really would have pegged it for a lot earlier than that, like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
easily.
This thing has an opener that's sort of like a 70s, 80s style, maybe even,
Yeah, disregard all my J-pop stuff then.
Or like a late 80s, those kind of shows. But no, actually, it's a much later show using a sort of an old style.
I guess I really like that. I mean, it seems like a lot of shows will go with whatever the prevailing style of the times is. Usually crap shows.
Mm-hmm.
But this show really seems to buck that trend.
Yeah.
All in all, it's an excellent show. You can get it pretty cheap, I imagine. You can get it on Netflix easily. I highly, highly recommend it from the 3 episodes I've seen.
Oh, here's something. The guy who directed Monster, the the anime, also directed Master Keaton. And also directed some movie that I never heard of and whatever.
See, I can kind of see that, but then again, I didn't like Monster, the anime, at all.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, no, I'll qualify that. I liked Monster until it just got so implausible I couldn't deal with it. Kind of like Noir. Noir started out so awesome. Like, this is going to be an awesome show. And in the course of 5 more episodes, it turned into, like, the crappiest show I was watching.
Anyway, so yeah, that's Master Keaton right there.
Yeah.
Definitely the $5 per DVD is worth it. And later in the series, it definitely, like I can tell from looking at the back of the DVD cases that some sort of longer plot develops and is concluded in the final episode. And you'll get like some 3-part stories, maybe even a 5-part story. I don't even know. I have to go look, but.
Yep. Now, we'll cover the show again. Once we've seen all of it, we'll do our typical Geeknights final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone wants to listen to that and is interested in the show, I'd recommend in the next couple months watching all of Master Keaton. I say couple months because it's going to take us a while. We're watching a whole bunch of shows, and we have lives, and we have podcasts, and we have conventions.
And this weekend we have a convention.
Yep, and we're done with Master Keaton. But also, this weekend, we will be at Kineticon for, in the very least, Saturday.
Yep.
If you want to see us, go. We're not doing anything official because I never bothered to talk to the Kineticon people. But we'll be there interviewing.
Yeah, Kineticon is in or near Hartford, Connecticut. I think in the Connecticut Convention Center. I could be wrong. You just search for Kineticon on the Google and you'll find it.
Yep.
but it is a big webcomic convention.
Yeah, if you like webcomics, well, one, go to the Mocha Art Festival, but two, go to Kineticon. One, if you are a webcomic artist, the barrier to entry of being a guest or a panelist there as a webcomic artist is ludicrously low. You can just go, and they are so open and awesome to the webcomic community. It's really kind of a cool thing.
Yep. And, a lot of webcomic people from wide, faraway places come to Kineticon. Like, the guy who does real-life comics comes all the way from the West Coast.
Yeah.
And Brian Clevenger comes, who does 8-Bit Theater. I don't know. Isn't he from Florida?
I don't remember, but he's an awesome dude. He was at UberCon 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's going to be there. All kinds of webcomic people. Most of them I don't read, but I know they're cool.
Yeah, I read a lot
Or they're
of them.
cool people, at least, whether I like their comics or not.
Though I got to say, real life, I got some words.
Yeah, we'll
real life,
give him what for.
Yeah, real life was one of my favorite comics, and now I don't even really read it anymore.
I still read it, but it's sort of out of habit, and it just takes me about a year to stop reading a comic out of habit once it's bad.
Oh, God, we read The Bad Boys of Computer Science for months after the website was gone.
When it was a 404, we read it.
I would just click on it every day, and then
That's how good your comic is. If you can make a comic that's really good, you can tell how good it is by stop updating. Don't do anything and see how long I keep visiting.
Well, case in point, Emily did a webcomic a long time ago, like a short one, and she just kind of stopped doing it. And she still has fans, like, bothering her about it. Our friend Ido did a really, really popular webcomic. Well, I say did, but she hasn't stopped it. She just hasn't updated it in a long time. And she has a lot of fans that are rabid and follow her around and bother her.
Like, imagine if Penny Arcade stopped updating. You know what? I would be checking Penny Arcade daily for years to come.
You know what? PAX would probably still happen, even if Gabe and Tycho were dead.
It's true.
I can see it just happening, and then people wouldn't even realize they were gone. They just wouldn't even think about it.
Speaking of which, I didn't read Penny Arcade today.
You'll read it. I'm not going to say anything.
Yep.
But suffice to say, Master Keaton is awesome. We will be at Kineticon. Yeah. And also unrelated, get us your jury nullification feedback. Some Thursday coming up, we'll do a show on it. We'll try to get some guests. I think this will be our first well-researched with feedback from listeners show, as opposed to our we rant about something for an hour shows.
Oh man, this is a great comic. I gotta say.
All right, we're done. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.